when Matt asked us to think about our mistakes, I immediately came to the time that I put all my groceries in the back of the car, got in the car, ready to drive off, and the car didn't start because it wasn't my car. And I looked around and realized, well, I gotta get these groceries out of this car and into my car before anybody notices that I'm taking groceries out of a car at the parking lot. But I realized that really wasn't a profound mistake. I've just learned now I look for my car first before I put my groceries in. So I'm started thinking of more of my profound mistakes, of which there are many. And I thought about parenting. And many of you know parenting is full of mistakes. However, when I started, I thought I knew everything. I thought I was in full control of the situation. There was no Google at the time, so I read the books, I followed the advice, and my kids were all gonna be all right. They were great, because I did everything it said to do. And I was all wrong. Number one and number two humored my husband and I, and let us think we were in control for a while. And then along came number three, and he is a circle in a square world. From age 4 on, he and we were told, he doesn't belong in this preschool. He doesn't belong in this playgroup. He doesn't belong in this classroom. This isn't the teacher for him. This isn't the soccer team for him. This isn't the school for him. That's not the right therapist for him. And over, we were told, he's messed up. He doesn't belong. And the more he heard this, the more destructive, explosive, and unhappy he became. And along came number 4 to add to our chaos. So as we struggled, we kept reading books, meeting therapists, psychiatrists, chiropractors, healers, shamans, anybody who might be able to help us with this child who is so deeply in despair and struggling. And finally, we had used up every one of our resources in the city we were living. And we were told by therapists, there's no help for you here. Your child needs to go to a residential treatment program, a therapeutic boarding school. And so at the tender age of 11, we drove our young son to a therapeutic boarding school and left him in the hands of strangers. And we thought it was the most awful thing we would ever experience. Nope, wrong again. 8 months later, he got kicked out. And getting kicked out of a therapeutic boarding school is a difficult thing to do, but he excelled. So he was sent to a wilderness camp where they were really going to help him. And 5 days before he graduated from that, he was kicked out. My husband had to drive to get him immediately because he was harming himself. And so he jumped in the car to go, and I was left at home with the other 3 young children. And that night, as I was getting them ready for bed, I got the call that my son had run away in the dark in the Idaho wilderness. So I put all my kids to bed, and I went to my bedroom, and I literally dropped to my knees. And I cried, and I sobbed, and I begged, and I pleaded with God to just please help my son, to fix him, to keep him safe, to help us all, just to get us through. And 3 hours later, my son was found alive and well and very cold. He was the same kid, and I was the same mom. But what was different is what I learned that night. I had no control. And I had to be okay with that. And I was. Also, I learned that God wouldn't fix my son because he wasn't and isn't broken. He, like all of us, is made in God's image after all. But most of all I learned, though God will not fix things or move obstacles or interfere with my life, God will be with me every step of that way. On that dark night, I've never felt so profoundly close to God as I was wrapped up and held by God. God was with me and my family that night, and God continues to be with me. God was with us the time my son hitchhiked out of the state and disappeared for 3 days. And God was with us when my son moved to Atlanta and hit rock bottom. And God was with us when my son decided to make changes for himself. And God was with us when he graduated from Georgia State this past May. And God was with us when he repaired his relationships with his siblings and our family. And God will continue to be with us and me as I continue to make mistakes and learn and fail and make mistakes and learn and fail and repeat over and over again. So I learned a lot from those mistakes and that dark night. And thank God for that. Thank you.